Welcome back from the break, everyone. As always, I'm your Tuesday night sports host, Emily Kozel, and today I'm joined by the Monday night sports crew to give you a more in-depth rundown on the men's and women's brackets for the Mountain West tournament. Welcome, everyone, to the Tuesday night show.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you so much, Emily.
I'm so happy you guys are here. So we're just going to get this started by sending it across the studio to Cameron Evig, who's here to talk about how the women performed in last night's game. Cam?
Yeah, Emily, as we wait for the men's Mountain West tournament to start, there is no lack of basketball at the Thomas and Mack Center, as we have the women's one going on right now. We saw these matches start on March 6th, and we are all the way up to these semifinal matches right here. UNLV and Air Force are currently playing right now. At half, we saw UNLV have about a 5-point lead. Mountain West Player of the Year Desiree Young looking to lead her team to that championship bracket. On this other side, upset down at the bottom. Colorado State yesterday off the back of Upe Atasu as well as McKenna Hofschild performed very, very well, shutting down star guard Tommy Olson for Wyoming and allowing them to come out with that victory. Does not get any easier for Colorado State, though, as you play the very, very tough Lobos team after they were able to take down San Diego State. Air Force and UNLV happening right now, and then you got New Mexico and Colorado State going on in just a couple of hours right after that one. The women's tournament seems like it's going to come down to some very, very close games, and what we've seen so far is some great basketball, Emily.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you guys think about Cam's picks, but I definitely think that CSU is going to struggle against New Mexico. They struggled against them the entire year, and New Mexico is just a really, really strong team. Both New Mexico and UNLV, very, very strong on the women's side, and I mean, we've seen that all year as well with CSU and just other teams in general. And so I definitely think that New Mexico is going to take it against CSU, and whoever in Air Force, I mean, this is the first time they've ever made it this far in the Mountain West tournament. Yeah. I mean, it would be super fun to see them win. You know, my hometown team makes it to the finals of the Mountain West tournament. But I definitely think that UNLV's got it.
No, definitely. I mean, you and I were on the same page, Madeline, and we thought Wyoming was going to take that one. And I think most of the country, if they about women's college basketball with Mountain West tournament, was probably on the same page. That was a nice upset. I mean, obviously the CSU dynamic duo, it was hard to beat when they're on fire, but I just didn't see that one happening. But now against New Mexico, why not go for CSU? I mean, why not go for another upset? That would be amazing. But absolutely, I agree with you on the Air Force side. This is history for their program, and it would be really, really cool to see them continue.
I completely agree with you. I'm going to CSU. I think they can really pull it out. As you said, why not have another upset? But I do see UNLV taking the entire thing. But I just can't wait to watch how much further the women get in their season and their matchup in their next one tonight against number 2 seed New Mexico. And sure, I get that the women's tournament is great and all, but I think the thing that most of us are excited for is how the men's basketball team is doing. As we've shown you time and time again over the course of the semester, they've had an amazing season this year. And as they move on to the Mountain West tournament, the excitement around this squad should only pick up even more. But obviously, in this one-and-done format, it can also lead to a lot of disappointment. Cam, lead us through it.
As you said, Emily, the one-and-done format means anything can happen in this tough Mountain West. We saw first-round matchups are out. Nevada versus New Mexico, Utah State Air Force, Fresno, San Jose State. Now, those bottom two, you should have Fresno over San Jose State. San Jose State has looked atrocious this year. No way that they can beat a Fresno team with Orlando Robinson on it, who has been phenomenal for the Bulldogs. Utah State and Air Force. Utah State has looked very good with some good wins over some higher level teams, and when they haven't won, they've played teams very, very competitively. Air Force, just not Air Force's year. I'd put them in the same area with San Jose State. They could probably take a game off of San Jose State if it came down to it, but Air Force and San Jose State are just going to be out of this one. Utah State going to be moving on to play Colorado State. Up here, Nevada and New Mexico. You got Nevada and New Mexico, two teams that, although are in the lower half of the standings, although they have not been performing that well this season, they're two teams that have taken some tough dubs off of some tough squads. New Mexico taking one off of Wyoming earlier in the year. Nevada taking one off of San Diego State earlier in the year. So although they're the 8 and 9 seed, I think that they are in a different tier than Air Force and San Jose State, who have no chance of winning a game. Nevada and New Mexico, that's going to be a phenomenal game to watch. But I got Nevada edging out just a little bit, who is going to go on to face number 1 Boise State. And that's how I got those first round matchups going. The quarterfinals is going to be a phenomenal matchup to watch, though. And Emily, I don't know what's going to happen in this tournament, but after those first round matchups, we're set for a good one.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the Mountain West we've seen this year, it's such a strong conference. I don't care what people have to say about mid-majors. Mid-majors can be good, and we've obviously seen that this year with the Mountain West. I mean, they're riding on a 4-bid NCAA. Yeah. I mean, that hasn't happened since 2013, back the last time when CSU made it. I do agree with Cam's first picks. I mean, yeah, Fresno State, they're going to destroy San Jose State. I don't really even think they have a chance.
I think we can agree on that one.
Yes, I think that's an easy one to agree on. Although the one that I don't agree on, though, is I think that New Mexico is going to take it. Their last win of the season just came against UNLV, and as we've seen, UNLV is not a bad team. They don't seem to play that well against the lesser opponents, but against really good teams, they're taking it. I mean, they had obviously 2 blowout wins against CSU. Yeah. They also had a blowout win against Wyoming. I do see New Mexico taking that matchup.
No, and I mean, I want to agree with you, Madeline, but I'm kind of more on Cam's side with this one. They have had a good run. They can be consistent. They can play to the competition. But in terms of this Mountain West tournament, I just don't see that happening. But in terms of the other picks, yes, I think we're on the same page. San Jose State has just looked horrible. The games that they have won very, very minimally were just luck, kind of a fluke. The fact that they're in this tournament is just simply because they're in the Mountain West, no other reason. So I think we agree on that one. And Utah State, they have proven to be good throughout this season, and I think they can compete with those bigger teams, and I absolutely think we're going to see them in the second round.
Yeah, I never thought I'd say it, but I completely agree with all of Cam's picks for this round. I think he nailed it. I mean, obviously most of these are going to be, pretty easy to say who's going to win, but...
Just for the first round, though.
Oh, definitely just for the first round. But that Nevada-New Mexico game, I'm going Nevada. So now that we've been through the first round of picks, I'm curious as to who Cam thinks is going to move forward into the quarterfinals.
Yeah, Emily, and this is where the tournament really starts to get interesting, right? Because you got Nevada moving on to play Boise in that second round. Wyoming and UNLV, Colorado State, Utah State, San Diego State, and Fresno State. And listen, before I give my picks, I think including the 1-8 seed, either of the teams that play can win. Nevada, Boise State, which is a game that, you expect Boise to take. Nevada can get hot and beat Boise. We've seen Nevada get hot and beat good teams. I don't think it's going to happen, though, and I'm taking Boise to beat Nevada. In the second round, though, Wyoming and UNLV. This is probably going to be one of the best games that we see all weekend. Wyoming has been looking bad. They have not been looking good in these last couple of weeks, so much to the point where we don't even know if they're going to get into March Madness after looking like a shoo-in just 2 weeks ago. And UNLV is one of the strangest teams in the Mountain West in all of basketball, in all of college basketball. They blow out Colorado State and lose to teams like Nevada. What goes on with UNLV, we don't know. But what I do know is UNLV can get streaky. And if they do, they could beat a Wyoming team. I have UNLV and Boise in the semifinals in the top half. Bottom half, Colorado State, Utah State. You look at it, Colorado State has been very, very good their last couple games. Although I want to be on Colorado State's side 100%, they aren't a team that is blowing out teams that they should be blowing out. If you're a Ram fan, you've been holding your breath at the end of Colorado State games for the last 5 or 10. Most of the games this season, you've held your breath at the end. 1 or 2 more mistakes and they lose them. Listen, I got Colorado State getting past Utah State, but I'm not going to act like Utah State just can't win that game. It is a game Utah State can win. San Diego State, Fresno State. San Diego State, another one of those odd teams. We know that they struggle offensively, but they are one of the best defensive teams in the entire country. If their defense can lead them to some easy offense, I can see them taking down Fresno State and their big man, Orlando Robinson. I don't know. This round is going to be an absolute doozy. That is what I do know. Any of these teams can be moving on. I hope my picks are right, but I would not be surprised if one or two of them are wrong, Madeline.
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, it's such a toss-up. Definitely, I feel like Boise is the safest bet, just because Nevada isn't really that strong, to be honest. And so and Boise's proven themselves time and time again this season. I definitely think that Boise kind of has that Nevada matchup in the bag. But the rest of them could honestly be a total toss-up. I'm taking UNLV in that Wyoming matchup. I am. I mean, UNLV just beat Wyoming, and we have to take into account UNLV gets a home court advantage the entire tournament. Mm-hmm. They're playing at the Thomas and Mack Center, and that's where UNLV plays. And so we can't count that out. And UNLV has proven to be pretty strong at home and against tough opponents like Wyoming supposedly is. I mean, they have definitely been going downhill. They're 2-4 in their last 6, and the 2 that they won, I believe, were Nevada and Air Force.
Easy games.
Yeah.
Games that,
games that they were expected to win. Mm-hmm. And so it's just, I don't know. I think that UNLV is a sleeper for the whole tournament, if I'm being honest. And then when we moving down that, CSU and Utah State, we've seen 2 pretty close matchups against CSU and Utah State. I mean, in the last one, CSU played some messy ball. We can definitely thank the terrible free throw percentage. 6 for 18, 6 for 18, come on. That was so bad. That's embarrassingly bad. But, Utah State had a really bad first half, but then they kind of showed through in the second, and it forced CSU to up their game. Thankfully, Kendall Moore was on fire, and it just seemed
like...
We got
so lucky.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you handed him the ball, and he couldn't miss. Yeah. He couldn't miss. It was incredible. I mean, season high for him. It might have been a career high. It was incredible. But then the SDSU and Fresno, honestly, that could be a toss-up. Mm-hmm. It really could. Because we saw in their last matchup, Fresno took San Diego State to double overtime at VA Haas Arena. Yeah. VA Haas Arena is one of the toughest places to play college basketball in the country.
Absolutely.
In the entire country, and Fresno State took them double overtime. Fresno State also took Wyoming to overtime. That was their other one, was Fresno State. They also took them to overtime, and Wyoming just squeaked it out. But honestly, I think that could be a total toss-up. But I do feel a little more comfortable in SDSU.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, you were saying you feel more comfortable with SDSU. I'll start with that game before I forget what I'm going to say. Fresno State, I'm not going to call them a sleeper for this tournament, but I think they are a sleeper with that game. Yeah. I think they can absolutely take down SDSU, and I don't think they're going to make it much further than that.
I don't either.
I totally think they can come away with a win on this one. But going back to the top of this bracket, I agree with you. I think Boise is more of a for sure win. It might be a closer game than some are predicting, but I definitely think Boise is going to take that one, take it to the semis. In terms of YO and UNLV, I honestly don't think it's going to be as close as you guys are predicting it to be. I just don't think Hamilton is going to be strong enough to take a Wyoming team that has everything to play for. I mean, you said it first, they hate to lose. They are some of the most grossly competitive people, I think we can say. And they have just been horrible coming into this tournament, and they want to prove themselves. And I absolutely think that's why they are going to take this game. I don't see the upset. And now Utah versus CSU. Okay, I do think CSU is going to take this one, but not as easily. Madeline, I'm getting there. Not as easily as the seeds would say it would. If we have one person scoring for CSU and sloppy defense, which is how we've come away with some of our wins, especially against Utah, that's not going to get us anywhere in this tournament. Justin Bean is one of the most underrated offense and defensive players in this tournament, in my opinion. And I think,
you're right. He's had 19 double-doubles this season. That man is pretty much averaging a double-double a game.
If Roddy is off his game against Utah and Justin Bean is on it, that could be a very, very close and rough game for the Rams.
But we have seen CSU shut down Justin Bean consistently.
Yeah.
Every time he's played CSU this year, he's gotten into some serious foul trouble, and that's really hurt him. And his free throw percentage has been terrible against CSU.
I don't know. We've seen history with our defense doesn't matter. It's not a consistent defense. They can't always put up a whole game, and I worry about that when they're playing on the road. I do.
I agree. I mean, obviously, I have CSU winning. I just see it happening, but I think it will be a really tough matchup. I agree with everything you guys said, basically. I mean, Boise, obvious. That's just everybody knows they're going to take it, and that's okay. We'll let it happen. UNLV versus Wyoming, I am going to go with UNLV. You made a great point, Madeline. They do have the home court advantage. I didn't even think about that one, but it would really help to have all your fans out there supporting. And then San Diego, Fresno, that is going to be unpredictable, but I do have San Diego pulling through with the dub for that one. All right, well, now that we've moved through everything that's set in stone as of now, we're getting into some more speculation. So, Cam, start us off. Who do you have moving into the semis?
Semifinals, here we go, and you're looking at the bracket. Boise, UNLV, Colorado State, San Diego State. Now listen, I don't think UNLV is going to stay hot throughout the entire tournament. I do think that they can take down a YO team. I don't think that they can take down a Boise team. Boise is just one of those teams that does not make very many mistakes. And UNLV, although a great streaky team, that is exactly what they are. They are very streaky. Boise is very consistent, and that's why I do not believe that UNLV can take down Boise. And honestly, if Wyoming does end up beating UNLV, Wyoming has a better chance of beating Boise than UNLV does. But I think that UNLV just has the better matchup into Wyoming personally. I got Boise moving on to the championship, beating UNLV out. And then on the bottom side of the bracket, Colorado State versus San Diego State. It all depends on David Roddy. Can he get the ball on the low post? Can he deliver the passes when he gets doubled? Can he get out of those double teams and get some tough buckets? We saw in the first matchup, he could not. San Diego State absolutely blew CSU out of California. And it's all dependent on him, as we saw in the second matchup. He was able to get those passes off. He was able to score some tough buckets, and they came away with the win. Colorado State, Boise State, moving on to the championship. And for me, it's to the point, I don't know if I can take Colorado State in this one. You saw the games that they played. You saw, and they have a tendency to make some mistakes. You look at Kendall Moore throwing the ball in 3 different times and having it be 3 turnovers in late game clutch situations. David Roddy, just last game, a crucial inbound pass where he just threw it to the crowd. Although he made up for it the next play, mistakes have been made by this CSU team, and they have been made frequently in the clutch. Boise does not make those same mistakes. Boise State is winning the Mountain West Championship.
Okay. I mean, I think you made a fair point. And I do agree that it's going to be Boise and CSU in the final. I think that
we're all on the same page,
yes,
right?
Boise,
CSU.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the CSU SDSU game is going to be good, but I do think that CSU does have the edge, and I think they're going to take it. But honestly, I do see CSU winning. Boise has played really well in both of the CSU games, and CSU has edged them out both times. And I just think that CSU is going to be at this point. They're playing for this title. If I'm not mistaken, they've never won this title. And this is something that, they were expected to do as the beginning of the season. So I see CSU taking it.
This might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't see CSU with a dynamic duo that Boise State has, and I think that's where that difference is going to be and why I'm taking Boise State for the championship. I mean, personally, we have won games with just one shooter and some okay defense. If that happens in that championship game, which obviously I hope it wouldn't, considering you need that momentum for a championship game, but we just don't have that consistency with our offense with multiple players to come out on top of a team that is consistently offensively strong like Boise State is. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think CSU is going to struggle with the fact that they're on the road, doesn't have that Moby Madness that they're used to with that needed motivation. That's why I'm taking Boise State. Cam, I agree with you.
I don't know. I'm going to have to go with Madeline on this one. I'm going CSU. I think, yeah, they're playing for the tournament championship, obviously. Well, we have them. They aren't there yet. But we're pretty sure they will be, and I think they can come out on top. They've done it before. I think they can beat Boise again. And, well, as much fun as that arguing was, that's really all the time we have for tonight. I'm excited to know if our picks for the tournament are right, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see until this weekend. Thank you all for joining me here tonight. It's been fun.
Yeah, no. Thank you for having us on. I really enjoyed this.
And, well, Rams, that's all the sports action we have for you tonight. Tune in tomorrow for the last CTV Geeks show before spring break. And until then, have a great night.